On Wednesday, December 10th, the atmosphere in the Price Grant home is thick with unspoken dread, a palpable tension that seems to suck the air right out of the room. Chanel Dupree finds herself paralyzed by a gnawing anxiety that refuses to abate. It is not merely a fleeting worrying, it is a deep-seated terror rooted in the recent, unexplained disappearance of Theo Carver. The silence from Theo has become deafening, echoing through the corridors of Chanel's mind and planting seeds of catastrophic scenarios. She is pacing the floorboards, her phone clutched in a hand that trembles slightly, waiting for a ring that never comes. Her fear is specific and terrifyingly logical. If the dark cloud hanging over the DiMera family has already swallowed Theo, who is next? Her husband, Johnny DiMera, stands directly in the line of fire. The DiMera curse, a whisper often heard in Salem, feels all too real today. Chanel envisions Johnny as the next domino to fall in a sinister game being played by unseen hands. Paulina Price, the matriarch who usually commands every room she enters with an uncheckable confidence, finds herself in the unfamiliar role of the frantic pacifier. She attempts to weave a tapestry of reassurance for her daughter, using her authoritative voice to insist that Theo is merely off the grid, perhaps caught up in business or a personal sabbatical. However, beneath Paulina's polished exterior and comforting words lies her own bedrock of fear. She knows the history of this town. She knows that when DiMeras go missing, it is rarely a coincidence and almost never ends without collateral damage. While she verbalizes safety and security, her eyes betray a mother's primal instinct to barricade the doors. She is analyzing the strategic implications. If Johnny disappears, it destabilizes Chanel, it destabilizes the business, and it strikes at the heart of their family unit. Paulina is already mentally calculating who she can call, which favor she can call in, and how she can protect her son-in-law before the shadows claim him too. Chicago confrontations, Alex Kyriakis and the fan mail mystery. Meanwhile, the narrative shifts violently to the windy city of Chicago, where Alex Kyriakis is in the midst of a high-profile book tour. The tour, intended to be a victory lap for his recent business memoirs, has abruptly transformed into a covert rescue mission. The catalyst for this dramatic shift is none other than Steve Patch Johnson, the veteran sleuth whose instincts are sharper than a razor. Steve has been meticulously analyzing a batch of fan mail sent to Alex, and his findings are chilling. These are not the adoring letters of sycophants. Hidden within the ink and paper are microscopic threats, coded messages, and disturbing imagery that point to a clear and present danger directed at Stephanie Johnson. The psychological profile built from these letters suggests an obsession that is escalating toward violence. Alex, upon receiving this intelligence, abandons the facade of the charming author. His surprise appearance in Chicago is not for the paparazzi, but to intercept a potential tragedy. The protective instinct in Alex is overdrive, fueled by a lingering, complicated affection for Stephanie. But the true twist in this unfolding drama is the target of their suspicion. In a leap of logic that combines past grievances with current anxieties, the finger of blame is being pointed squarely at Jeremy Horton. This accusation is not random. The new narrative suggests that Jeremy's recent erratic behavior and unexplained absences provide a convenient, if not entirely sturdy, frame for the culprit. They are constructing a case against him, theorizing that his jealousy or business failures have curdled into a vendetta. Alex and Steve are preparing to confront Jeremy, ready to tear apart his alibis to ensure Stephanie's safety, effectively turning the book tour into a manhunt. Commiseration and cohabitation, the Brady and Sarah dynamic. Back in Salem, a different kind of alliance is forming in the quiet corners of the Kyriakis mansion. Brady Black and Sarah Horton are spending their hours commiserating, bonded by the shared wreckage of their personal lives. Their conversation is a deep dive into the sorrows of parenthood and the helplessness of watching those you love suffer. Sarah, with her dual perspective as a mother and a doctor, feels a profound, aching sympathy for Rachel Black. The news of the kidnapping, a traumatic event that has been splashed across the headlands, reached Rachel's ears, and the reaction has been volatile. Sarah analyzes Rachel's anger not as simple acting out, but as a manifestation of deep psychological scarring. She sees a child who feels unprotected, a little girl whose world is defined by chaos rather than stability. Brady, heavy with the burden of his daughter's pain, shares updates that are both logistical and emotional. He reveals a significant shift in his living situation. He will be moving in under the same roof as Sarah. This decision is pragmatic, born of a need for support and perhaps safety in numbers, but the emotional ripples are destined to be a tsunami. This cohabitation is a declaration of solidarity that will inevitably ignite the powder keg that is Xander Cook. Xander, already prone to possessive rages and deep-seated insecurity regarding Sarah's affections, will view this living arrangement as a direct act of war. The analysis here is clear. Brady is prioritizing Rachel and his own stability, but in doing so, he is walking directly into the lion's den. Xander's jealousy is not just a character flaw, it is a destructive force. The proximity of Brady to Sarah, sharing meals, sharing space, sharing late-night conversations about their children, will drive Xander to the brink, potentially causing him to lash out in ways that could jeopardize everything he has worked to rebuild. The corrupting bond, Rachel and Sophia's dark pact. Perhaps the most disturbing development lies with the younger generation. Rachel Black is falling deeper under the insidious influence of Sophia Choi. This is not merely a friendship, it is a mentorship in manipulation. Sophia, seemingly wise beyond her years in the arts of deceit, is becoming the architect of Rachel's rebellion. The bond between the two girls is strengthening, and the influence is toxic. Observers fear that Sophia is weaponizing Rachel's anger, guiding her toward actions that are not just naughty, but genuinely malevolent. The speculation is that Sophia is pushing Rachel to commit a specific, damaging act against Tate Black, perhaps framing him for a crime he didn't commit or sabotaging his already precarious social standing. Furthermore, there is a terrifying possibility that this alliance has a darker objective involving Johnny DiMera. The detailed analysis of their interaction suggests Sophia might be coaching Rachel on how to orchestrate a situation that could lead to a child being taken away from Johnny. Whether this involves fabricating evidence of negligence or creating a dangerous environment, the intent is malicious. Rachel, fueled by her own feelings of abandonment and anger over the kidnapping news, is a pliable instrument in Sophia's hands. She is learning that power comes from disruption, and under Sophia's tutelage, she is preparing to unleash chaos that could tear the Black and DiMera families apart from the inside. A confession in the shadows, Tate's dilemma. Finally, we turn to Tate Black, a young man crushing under the weight of a secret. He seeks out Holly Jonas, his confidant, and perhaps the only person who can understand the pressure cooker of growing up in Salem. Tate opens up to Holly, revealing a dilemma that is eating him alive. While on the surface, this could be dismissed as academic struggles or teenage angst, the subtext suggests something far more critical. He is terrified about the situation involving Rachel and her potential commitment to Bayview. He sees the chess pieces moving, he sees the closeness between Rachel and Sophia, and he recognizes the danger it poses. Tate's confession to Holly is a desperate plea for help. He is stressing her out, burdening her with knowledge that places them both in a moral gray area. If he reveals what he knows about Rachel's plans or Sophia's influence, he risks alienating his sister forever and blowing up his family. If he stays silent, he allows a tragedy to unfold. He tells Holly because he cannot carry it alone, but in doing so, he draws her into the line of fire. The poor grade's excuse is merely a cover story for the true anxiety, the fear that his sister is turning into a villain, and he is the only one who sees it happening. This conversation marks a turning point where the younger generation is forced to grow up too fast, dealing with the fallout of their parents' endless wars. Next, we will learn about the issue shaking the very foundations of Salem, a crisis that forces the town to finally confront the terrifying pattern of disappearances connected to the DiMera family. In this expanded and dramatically reimagined account, the events surrounding Theo's kidnapping and the mysterious discoveries at the mansion unfold with heightened tension, deeper emotional stakes, and surprising new layers of intrigue. The mansion mystery deepens. As the sun rises over the imposing DiMera mansion, a silent but relentless search continues. Kat, still shaken from the previous night, makes her way through corridors lined with portraits of ancestors whose piercing gazes seem to follow every step she takes. After knocking EJ unconscious on Friday, an act she still justifies as necessary, she begins ransacking the living room with a sense of determination bordering on obsession. But as minutes pass, she realizes the obvious. No DiMera in history has ever hidden anything important in a place where visitors sip brandy and gossip about town politics. So, guided by instinct and an unexplained chill in the air, she ventures toward the mansion's underground tunnels, a labyrinth Dewey Decimal could never hope to catalog. Down in the wine room, Kat discovers something far more disturbing than dusty bottles and forgotten vintages: a folding bed tucked against a stone wall, sheets slightly wrinkled, a faint scent of cologne. Someone had been here recently, and for more than a brief nap. She begins taking photos with her phone, documenting every angle, every shadow, every unnoticed detail. Then, worried about leaving EJ alone too long, she hurries upstairs. The moment EJ's eyes fly open, confusion floods his face. He assumes he simply fell asleep, a dangerous assumption in a house where people vanish with alarming regularity. Kat quickly corrects him. Someone is hunting his family. And the next strike has already happened. Theo's vanishing act. Across town, a tragedy quietly unfolds. Abe and Paulina are doing their best to settle baby Trey, whose cries echo through their home like sirens of distress. Out of desperation, Abe calls Theo for help. But mid-conversation, Theo abruptly goes silent, then the line drops. Unknown to Abe, Theo has been ambushed mere steps outside the bar. A quick, silent snatch. A struggle muffled by the night. And then a thing. Abe simply assumes Theo didn't hear him. Irritated, he returns to tending to Trey with Paulina, unaware their world is already unraveling. Minutes later, Jada walks into the bar with a smile, greeting Gabby with the ease of someone enjoying a brief break from chaos. Philip arrives with news of his own, but before conversations can deepen, JJ calls Jada with another bombshell. Chad DiMera has been reported missing. Chad. Another DiMera. Another name added to the growing list of disappearances haunting Salem. Jada rushes outside in panic to search for Theo, but all she finds is his phone lying abandoned on the sidewalk, the screen cracked, the last message half-typed as if interrupted mid-word. She immediately calls Abe. Abe bursts out of his house the moment he hears the news, sprinting toward the bar like a father possessed. Fear, guilt, and dread swirl together as he heads straight for the Salem Police Department. Law enforcement finally wakes up. Inside the station, walls covered in missing persons flyers tell a story louder than any alarm. Jada wastes no time briefing Abe, though the truth hits harder than any prepared speech. We have no leads. The words echo in the room, cutting through Abe's heart like a blade. But she reassures him the FBI and Rafa have joined the case. For the first time, the authorities are treating these disappearances as a coordinated attack. Desperate to contribute, Abe asks Jada to let him help. She reluctantly begins listing possible motives and theories, and one stands out: the kidnapper might be someone Theo trusts. A chilling thought considering Theo's gentle nature and long history of giving people second chances. This theory sends Abe's mind spiraling toward EJ, the last DiMera still standing. Maybe EJ knows more than he lets on. Or maybe EJ is next. Either way, the DiMera legacy is no longer just a family saga, it's a trail of clues leading into darkness. Back at the bar, Gabby and Philip sit in uneasy silence. Their earlier conversation evaporates as the weight of reality hits them. Theo is gone. Chad is gone. Tony is gone. And Kristen, problematic as she often is, remains missing without so much as a town-wide search effort. The fear is contagious. The silence palpable. Gabby clenches her hands. Philip stares blankly into space. Both understand that whatever is happening has now escalated beyond individual disappearances or isolated crimes. Salem has seen its share of turmoil, but this a systematic attack on the DiMeras feels unprecedented. Someone is playing a long, calculated game. Someone knows the DiMeras' weaknesses. Someone is dismantling the family piece by piece. The cat's crucial discovery. Meanwhile, the mansion's halls once again swallow Kat as she paces through them, replaying her earlier discoveries in her mind. She revisits the wine room, camera in hand, convinced she overlooked something that might break the case wide open. And this time, she finds it, a small scrap of fabric caught on a splintered corner of the folding bed. Dark, coarse, distinctive, not from any garment currently worn by a DiMera. But something about it feels familiar, like an echo from a previous case, a stranger in the background, a shadow captured unintentionally in a photo months ago. Kat pockets the fabric, sensing this clue is far more important than she originally believed. A countdown begins. As the FBI expands their investigation and EJ grapples with the realization that his family is collapsing further into danger, Abe's fear transforms into determination. He refuses to sit idle while Theo is out there somewhere, frightened and alone. Salem, A town once known for its scandals and romances now finds itself teetering on the brink of a crisis that touches every household. People lock their doors earlier, whisper rumors in the market, watch strangers more carefully than friends. And throughout it all, the mysterious kidnapper remains unseen, an invisible puppeteer pulling strings, setting traps, and lurking behind every second of uncertainty. The question that haunts Salem now isn't simply who kidnapped Theo, it's this: how far will the kidnapper go, and who will be next?